The shoe that fits one person pinches another. There is no recipe for living that suits all cases. The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. The meeting of two personalities is like the contact of two chemical substances. If there is any reaction, both are transformed. Everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves. Your visions will become clear only when you can look into your own heart. Who looks outside, dreams. Who looks inside, awakes. Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. I am not what happened to me, I am what I choose to become. You are what you do, not what you say you'll do. Loneliness does not come from having no people about one, but from being unable to communicate the things that seem important to oneself, or from holding certain views which others find inadmissible. Knowing your own darkness is the best method for dealing with the darknesses of other people. The pendulum of the mind oscillates between sense and nonsense, not between right and wrong. Every form of addiction is bad, no matter whether the narcotic be alcohol, morphine, or idealism. The most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely. There's no coming to consciousness without pain. No tree, it is said, can grow to heaven unless its roots reach down to hell. People will do anything, no matter how absurd, in order to avoid facing their own souls. One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. In all chaos there is a cosmos, in all disorder a secret order. Mistakes are, after all, the foundations of truth, and if a man does not know what a thing is, it is at least an increase in knowledge if he knows what it is not. Thinking is difficult, that's why most people judge. As far as we can discern, the sole purpose of human existence is to kindle a light of meaning in the darkness of mere being. We cannot change anything unless we accept it. Where wisdom reigns, there is no conflict between thinking and feeling. How can I be substantial if I do not cast a shadow? I must have a dark side also if I am to be whole. Where love rules, there is no will to power, and where power predominates, love is lacking. The one is the shadow of the other. Through pride we are ever deceiving ourselves. But deep down below the surface of the average conscience, a still, small voice says to us, something is out of tune. Shame is a soul-eating emotion. There are as many nights as days, and the one is just as long as the other in the year's course. Even a happy life cannot be without a measure of darkness, and the word happy would lose its meaning if it were not balanced by sadness. The creation of something new is not accomplished by the intellect, but by the play instinct acting from inner necessity. The creative mind plays with the objects it loves. The best political, social, and spiritual work we can do is to withdraw the projection of our shadow onto others. What you resist, persists. The first half of life is devoted to forming a healthy ego, the second half is going inward and letting go of it. About a third of my cases are suffering from no clinically definable neurosis, but from the senselessness and emptiness of their lives. This can be defined as the general neurosis of our times. Nothing has a stronger influence psychologically on their environment and especially on their children than the unlived life of the parent. The reason for evil in the world is that people are not able to tell their stories. Wholeness is not achieved by cutting off a portion of one's being, but by integration of the contraries. An understanding heart is everything in a teacher and cannot be esteemed highly enough. One looks back with appreciation to the brilliant teachers, but with gratitude to those who touched our human feeling. The curriculum is so much necessary raw material, but warmth is the vital element for the growing plant and for the soul of the child. If there is anything that we wish to change in the child, we should first examine it and see whether it is not something that could better be changed in ourselves. Every human life contains a potential. If that potential is not fulfilled, then that life was wasted. Nights through dreams tell the myths forgotten by the day. Even a happy life cannot be without a measure of darkness, and the word happy would lose its meaning if it were not balanced by sadness. I must also have a dark side if I am to be whole. There can be no transforming of darkness into light and of apathy into movement without emotion. Thoroughly unprepared, we take the step into the afternoon of life. Worse still, we take this step with the false presupposition that our truths and our ideals will serve us as hitherto. But we cannot live the afternoon of life according to the program of life's morning, for what was great in the morning will be little at evening, and what in the morning was true, at evening will have become a lie. If one does not understand a person, one tends to regard him as a fool. The healthy man does not torture others, generally it is the tortured who turn into torturers. If the path before you is clear, you're probably on someone else's. Words are animals, alive with a will of their own. The bigger the crowd, the more negligible the individual becomes. Every mother contains her daughter in herself, and every daughter her mother, and every mother extends backwards into her mother and forwards into her daughter. Sometimes you have to do something unforgivable just to be able to go on living. Midlife is the time to let go of an over-dominant ego and to contemplate the deeper significance of human existence. In each of us there is another whom we do not know. Life really does begin at 40. Up until then, you are just doing research. The highest and most decisive experience of all, which is to be alone with his own self, or whatever else one chooses to call the objectivity of the psyche. The patient must be alone if he is to find out what it is that supports him when he can no longer support himself. Only this experience can give him an indestructible foundation. Children are educated by what the grown-up is and not by his talk. Often the hands will solve a mystery that the intellect has struggled with in vain. A particularly beautiful woman is a source of terror. As a rule, a beautiful woman is a terrible disappointment. Man needs difficulties, they are necessary for health. The greatest and most important problems of life are all fundamentally insoluble. They can never be solved, but only outgrown. The word belief is a difficult thing for me. I don't believe. I must have a reason for a certain hypothesis. Either I know a thing, and then I know it, I don't need to believe it. We cannot change anything until we accept it. Condemnation does not liberate, it oppresses. The man who promises everything is sure to fulfill nothing, and everyone who promises too much is in danger of using evil means in order to carry out his promises, and is already on the road to perdition. We are in a far better position to observe instincts in animals or in primitives than in ourselves. Understanding does not cure evil, but it is a definite help, inasmuch as one can cope with a comprehensible darkness. Check out this video about the best quote from the great German philosopher Immanuel Kant. Please subscribe if you haven't already. Thanks for watching.